Only sex education is actually driving up STD rates.
How can that be?
I wasn't surprised to hear this because I think that when you are preaching abstinence, not that that's a bad thing, I do believe it's a good thing, but I think that if you are not also, in addition to teaching abstinence, talking about safe sex and those things, if they do decide, because kids will be kids, so they're not getting the kind of education they need to have about if they do decide to go out there and have sex.
I agree with you.
And they're not learning about socially transmitted diseases, that you can still be a virgin and still contract a sexually transmitted disease orally.
How many schools are teaching abstinence only? That surprises me. Are they mainly private schools, or are some public schools still teaching that?
I think a lot of schools, and probably more private, more
maybe
church schools,
more religious-based schools. But you know what? With our kids, of course, we hope and pray they will wait, but we don't know that, and so we teach. You know, of course, try not to do it until you're married. But in case you do, this is what you have to be careful of, you know? And so, I don't know, I'm just a strong believer that you've got to give kids the tools, because you just never know what may end up happening.
Was it hard for you guys to talk to your kids about having sex?
Not at all.
Really?
Because my mom, I'm telling y'all, she gave me a book, and all I can remember was that it was something about chickens. And I never could connect, what does this have to do with sex?
And sure it wasn't about rabbits?
Well, you would think, right? And I've always been trying to figure out, what does that have to do with having sex? But for years, I really didn't know. Everything that I learned from friends. And half of it was backwards.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even the right information. So with our kids, you know, as soon as we kind of know that they're, you know, starting to see stuff on TV or they're starting to ask questions, we immediately jump in, and we're very open about it. And our 17-year-old has been really good about, you know, I believe that she's still, you know, cool.
And you feel like she comes to you openly with things, too, because you've made it comfortable. And that's what I was going to say, is talking to my boys about it, I tried my best to make it as comfortable as I possibly could. And I tried to be as cool as I possibly could about it, to say, you know, you're going to deal with this, so this is, and also about changes in their bodies and things like that. I was always very like, hey, it's going to happen, so
Did your husband and you disagree or agree on the way you talked to them?
We agreed on that, and we kind of supported each other that way. I think I was probably more comfortable talking about it than he was.
Oh, really? And he's a guy. And you had 4 boys. Okay.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, interesting that moms, we end up having to do the hard work sometimes.
Do you talk about how you're going to talk about it?
You know, I haven't thought about how I would tell my kids. My mom was very open, but my mom also gave us the guilt trip about, if your grandparents found out, it would just kill them. It would give your grandfather a heart attack. So there was always that fear of, if I have sex before I'm married, I will kill my grandparents. So she did a lot of the guilt tripping, and she mainly focused on.
Did it work?
Yes, it did. I did not have sex until I was married.
Because you think they're looking from heaven. You think they're looking from heaven at you, and they see everything.
Yes.
I've been in that position going like, God, I wonder if my grandparents can see this right now. You know?
It is rare though, and good for you. Was it difficult for your husband as your fiance? Was he on board with you?
Yes.
He knew what your beliefs were, and he was on board with it?
Yes. He knew that was very important, and I told him from day one, because I actually didn't want to date him initially, and he kept hounding me, and I said, I don't know what you think is going to happen, but like, you're going to get to hold my hand and kiss me, and that's it. And he said, well, I'm not interested in anything else. So I thought, that's a keeper. But I felt like telling people up front was always really great, because you could suss out who had the good intentions and who didn't.
And set the expectations straight off the bat.
See, and you say that as you are not a mother yet, and you're going to make a great mother.
Oh, thanks.
You will, because you'll pass on those beliefs, and you'll pass on your experience with your children. And
well, I think the most important thing is to have a great friendship with someone, because I've always thought, you know, when I'm 90 years old, if I'm still with the same person, because my grandparents were married until they were 90 before they passed away, it was about having a close friendship. That's what you end up with. So yes, you should have an amazing attraction, but that's not
someone you want to be sitting on the front porch in a rocking chair with when all the kids are gone and
drinking
all your friends are dead and
whatever.
You can laugh with,
Someone who makes you laugh. That's a secret. I know my grandparents said the same thing. They were married, gosh, 50 some odd years.
Yeah, mine were 60 some years.
Really? Oh, you have some long lives in your families. My goodness.
And my parents were 30 some, and then I broke it. Got married the first time. But this time, I plan on.
Sometimes we don't get it the first time around, or maybe even the second time around.